Emmerdale spoilers for next week 14 to 18 July 2025 tease that a chilling atmosphere, like whispered truths that no one dares to speak. The village is silent, but the silence is full of lies. Beneath the stillness, a storm is brewing, and it is about to explode at Nate's funeral. Mourners gather in hushed groups outside the church, their faces solemn, etched with grief and confusion. Tracy stands among them, black veil fluttering softly in the wind. Her eyes stay fixed ahead, not daring to flicker sideways where whispers follow her like shadows. Kane watches her, his jaw clenched, suspicion creeping into every thought. He's learned that Tracy received a sizable life insurance payout following Nate's death. The timing, the circumstances, the secrecy, it doesn't sit right. Inside the church, the tension is nearly unbearable. Kane keeps his distance, but never lets Tracy out of his sight. His instincts gnaw at him. Nate's death had been ruled accidental, a tragic incident that left more questions than answers. But now, the money, the silence, the almost mechanical way Tracy moves, he's starting to wonder if there's more behind that cold composure. Did she know more than she let on? Did she play a part? But the most chilling presence in the crowd isn't Tracy. It's John. Hidden in plain sight, his expression unreadable, he stands among the villagers, blending into the grief, masking his nerves with a well-practiced blank stare. John, the man who murdered Nate, walks free, so far. He can feel the heat of guilt rising, but he buries it deep beneath layers of denial and paranoia. He's growing more desperate by the day, whispering to himself that he can outlast suspicion, that no one knows. But every glance cast his way feels heavier, more loaded. He can't shake the feeling that the noose is tightening. The funeral procession begins. Victoria stands near the front, her grief genuine, but her attention torn by a new dilemma. Charity, unexpectedly, has stepped forward with a plan to help Sarah. Charity has always been reckless, but this feels different, calculated, personal, as if she's trying to atone for something. Victoria watches the exchange between Mac and Charity later that day, noting the frustration in Mac's eyes as he pleads with Charity to reconsider. "You're not thinking clearly," Mac tells her, his voice low but firm. "You think you're helping Sarah, but this could ruin everything." Charity's jaw is set. She wants a child, Mac. And she's running out of time. And what if you make it worse? What if you destroy whatever future she has left? Victoria senses this is more than a disagreement. There's desperation behind Charity's defiance, and it unsettles her. She starts questioning the full extent of Charity's plan. Could it truly help Sarah, or is this another ticking time bomb waiting to explode? Meanwhile, at the cafe, a different kind of storm brews. Lewis's new menu is drawing in curious customers like bees to honey. The bold, flavorful dishes, organic granola bowls, artisan flatbreads, and freshly pressed juices, are a hit, and the cafe buzzes with excitement. Lewis glows with pride, finally feeling like he's found his stride. This could be the turning point he's been working toward, the moment he pulls the business into the light. But Nicola isn't celebrating. Watching from the side, her brow furrowed, she's feeling displaced, overlooked. This was supposed to be her success too, and now it's Lewis soaking in the glory. Brenda, ever the steady presence, tries to smooth things over, encouraging Nicola to be proud of the cafe's progress. But Nicola can't shake the bitterness. She feels it in her bones, resentment festering, waiting for a release. Elsewhere, Robert receives a message that leaves him pale. Owen is back. The name alone tightens Robert's grip on his phone. The last time they crossed paths, it ended in threats and near violence. Owen had vanished, but now he's resurfaced, and Robert knows it's no coincidence. Within hours, they collide again. The confrontation is immediate, volatile. Words are spat like venom. You really thought I'd just disappear? Owen sneers. That I'd forget. Robert doesn't flinch. You should have stayed gone. The standoff is electric. Robert can feel the eyes of the village narrowing in. If this escalates, he might lose more than his pride. He could lose control of the fragile peace he's built. And Owen doesn't seem to care who burns so long as Robert goes down with him. On the edges of this chaos is Paddy, struggling through what should have been an ordinary workday. But it's far from it. His fear of dogs, a cruel twist of irony for a vet, keeps him frozen at the threshold of the clinic. He tries again and again to push past it, but the images come roaring back. He panics, stumbles, and finally gives up. Shame clings to him like a second skin. Mandy sees him retreating and hatches a plan. She introduces him to Chip, a small, gentle dog with soft eyes and a calm demeanor. Just sit with him, she says, voice gentle. Don't think. Just breathe. Paddy does. At first, it works. The fear ebbs ever so slightly. Chip rests his head on Paddy's knee, and for a flicker of a moment, something like healing begins. But then, something shifts. Chip startles, a noise, a movement, and snaps. It's not malicious, more startled than aggressive, but it's enough. Paddy jerks back, falls hard, and the pain in his leg tells him something's wrong. Mandy rushes to him, heart pounding. They drive to the hospital, silent, the weight of failure hanging thick in the air. Paddy hates this, hates the fear, the setbacks, the weakness. Mandy tries to reassure him, but is lost in his thoughts. What if he never gets past this? What if this is who he is now? Back in the village, the echoes of the funeral still linger. Kane continues to circle Tracy, carefully, quietly gathering information. He visits the insurance office, asks questions he's not supposed to. A clerk, too trusting, let slip that Tracy inquired about the payout weeks before Nate's death. Kane's blood runs cold. That's not just suspicious, it's damning. He returns to the village with a new storm in his chest. He confronts Tracy just as the sun begins to set. They stand near Nate's grave, the air thick with tension. You knew he was going to die, didn't you? Kane's voice is low, dangerous. Tracy's eyes widen, but she says nothing. She's either too stunned or too guilty. You took the money before the tears were dry. What does that say about you, Tracy? She finally speaks. I didn't kill him. I swear. Kane doesn't believe her. And now, he's not the only one. Because nearby, hidden just out of sight, John listens. And for the first time since Nate's death, he realizes something terrifying. Kane is getting too close. The village awoke the following morning to an uneasy stillness. Kane's confrontation with John had left more than blood on the forest floor. It had left a trail of questions, ones the villagers were growing less patient to leave unanswered. Kane, now in possession of John's phone, debated what to do next. Inside, texts painted a harrowing picture of a premeditated act. Nate had found something out, something dangerous, and John had silenced him for it. Yet Kane hesitated. He knew the law wasn't always swift, and certainly not always just. If he handed over the phone now, the police would take weeks. Maybe months. Meanwhile, John might run, vanish, or worse, strike again. Kane decided to give Tracy one last chance to come clean. Tracy sat alone in her living room, the payout untouched, paperwork spread around her like shattered glass. Her face was hollow. When Kane appeared, she didn't flinch. It wasn't about the money, she whispered. Not at first. Nate was scared, Kane. Paranoid. He kept saying someone was following him. Then one night he told me he recorded something. I begged him to go to the police. He never got the chance. Kane's voice was steel. So you lied. You took the payout knowing something was wrong. Tracy nodded slowly. I thought it was guilt. But I was terrified. What would you have done, Kane? He didn't answer. Instead, he dropped the phone in front of her. You still have a chance to do the right thing. Before I do it for you. As Tracy stared at the screen, tears streaming, John made his next move. Injured, enraged, and desperate, he broke into the veterinary clinic late that night. It wasn't just vandalism, it was a message. The walls were slashed, cabinets overturned. Chip was gone. Mandy discovered the wreckage first and screamed so loudly it echoed into the morning. Paddy, rushing on crutches, nearly collapsed from panic. Losing Chip wasn't just a setback, it was personal. Meanwhile, Robert found himself face to face with Owen again. This time in the cafe, filled with patrons. Owen sat at the bar, loud and smug. You always did love being the hero, Robert. Want to tell them how you really make your money? Robert's fists clenched. Lewis tried to de-escalate, but Owen was on a roll. How long before the village finds out what you did in London, eh? The crowd stirred. Nicola watched from the kitchen, concerned. Brenda stepped forward, surprisingly stern. That's enough. You say one more word, and I'll call the police. Owen sneered but backed off, for now. Robert caught his breath, and shot Brenda a grateful look. But the damage had begun. Whispers had legs, and Owen knew how to feed them. Elsewhere, Victoria worked closely with Mac and Charity, helping navigate Sarah's options. They found a clinical trial in Manchester, risky, but with regulated oversight and promising data. Charity was reluctant to trust anyone else, but Sarah pleaded. Let's try the right way, Sarah said. Let's do this together. For the first time in days, Charity looked hopeful. Back in the clinic, the hunt for Chip took over the village. Posters went up, and social media lit up. Paddy's eyes scanned every street corner. The trauma was deep, but the urgency pushed him forward. He even joined Mandy on a search through the nearby woods. That's where they found him. Chip was injured, limping, but alive. Mandy wept. Paddy knelt beside the dog, ignoring the throb in his own leg. For a long time, man and dog simply sat, the fear dissolving between them. That same afternoon, Tracy walked into the police station. With shaking hands, she handed over Nate's phone and the statement Kane helped her draft. Within the hour, officers raided John's home. But John wasn't there. He was at the cafe. Lewis was the first to notice something was wrong. John stumbled in through the back, bruised and blooded. He grabbed a knife from the prep table, eyes wild. You think you can all just ruin me? Nicola froze. Robert, who'd come for a late coffee, stepped between John and Brenda. Put it down, John. This ends here. John laughed, bitter and unhinged. It ends when someone pays. The police arrived just in time. John didn't resist. He dropped the knife, crumpling to the floor. As they dragged him away, Kane watched from the shadows. Justice had come, but not without scars. That evening, the village exhaled. The tension that had choked the streets for weeks finally eased. Brenda lit candles outside the cafe. Nicola and Lewis served free pastries. Paddy returned to the clinic, Chip in his lap. Tracy, though still fragile, stood beside Kane at Nate's grave. She spoke softly. I think he'd be proud. That we kept fighting. Kane nodded. He didn't die for nothing. Victoria received news that Sarah was accepted into the trial. Charity cried openly, for the first time in weeks, holding both of them close. Robert walked past Owen's old flat and saw the "For Let" sign. A chapter closed. And somewhere in the night, the stars returned to Emmerdale, brighter now, because they'd survived the